Arthur's partner in crime all week, and he's actually going to earn his keep tonight, Mr. Cian Barry. And I guess, since you haven't heard enough of him already today, you're just going to have to deal with Mr. Jared Cooper as our fourth contestant. And to help me, as the timekeeper, I have the lovely Jenny McDonald. Now I need to put this iDrive somewhere safe before Mr. Andrew Beach kills me. So, we do not have buzzers. What we have is a second mic, and you each get to create your own buzz tone. Starting with Jared.
Can I sleep?
No.
Cian. Boogie Boogie. Terry. Fantastic. So, you all know the rules of the game. I will give you a topic, and you will need to talk for 60 seconds without repetition, hesitation, or deviation for a full 60 seconds, and Jenny here will be keeping time. If you think that someone hesitates, deviates, or repeats, you buzz in, and a successful challenge will get you a point. An unsuccessful challenge will lose you a point. Well, we'll gain a point for the person who is talking. Now, in England, this is hosted by a very dapper older gentleman who was in Doctor Who named Nicholas Parsons. He would probably use pen and paper, but I'm going to use an iPad, and I'm going to be the technological Nicholas Parsons tonight, because that's where I kept all my notes. So,
Can I be Kenneth Williams?
yes, you can be Kenneth Williams. Hands up who got that joke.
Terry.
Yay! Okay, so we are going to start. We are going to start with Terry. He's going to go first. And I would like you to talk for 60 seconds upon the subject of my new race of Daleks. Starting now.
My new race of Daleks are rather interesting. Let me explain. First of all, there is the blue Dalek. Then there is the white Dalek.
Can I sleep? The word was Daleks, not Dalek. It was repetition.
Oh, it's going to be like
I think all are we? Yeah. I think that would count as a repetition and a successful challenge for Jared, so we could pass the mic down and around. Jared gets a point for a successful challenge, and there are how many seconds remaining? 38 seconds remaining on the topic of my new race of Daleks. We have a challenge from Terry. Absolutely a hesitation. A successful challenge there for Terry. And there are 37 seconds remaining on my new race of Daleks, starting now.
Cerise Daleks. Teletubby Daleks.
We have a challenge there from Cian.
That was a hesitation.
You could drive a bus through that one, I'm sorry, but yes. So a successful challenge there from Cian.
It was a lovely list.
And we now have 29 seconds remaining
Okay.
on my new race of Daleks, starting now.
Well, I think the Daleks have always had a lot going for them, but I think they're not quite...
We have a challenge from Terry. There was indeed a repetition of
Schoolboy
things.
error, my bad, there you go.
It's a tougher game than it looks.
Am I in this one?
have 19 seconds left for Terry again on my new race of Daleks. And we haven't had a Davros-style rant yet. Starting now.
London bus Daleks, Concorde Daleks are the best Daleks you will find. However, if you really want to make Daleks rule the universe, you have to have Orlando Daleks.
And the time is up. You made it through the minutes. At the end of round 1, Terry is racing ahead with 3 points. Cian and Jared on 1 point, and Paul hasn't shown up yet.
I still believe in you, Paul.
But on a lighter note, Paul gets to start the next round. And the topic you're going to talk about for 60 seconds is In My Haunted TARDIS. And your time starts now.
Within my haunted TARDIS, I have a mini spook, and within this,
He was too taken aback to me.
It wasn't even a challenge, I was just
I'm very confused right now.
Is a hesitation.
Is it my
I thought early was in your dictionary. You've got to end it in LY.
Oh, yes.
So Cian got you, and Cian has 49 seconds to talk about what he gets up to in My Haunted TARDIS, starting now.
Within my haunted TARDIS was what my mother said to me when I asked about the birds and the bees. Then we went on to talk about other things, such as the TARDIS. And within my haunted TARDIS, I would have the usual ghosts, some spooks.
It's in my haunted TARDIS, not within my haunted TARDIS.
Did I say within before? Oh, fair enough, yeah. I'm not surprised, to be quite
Well,
honest.
we're going to deduct a point from Jared just for being petty, but the topic was still passed again. He is a Doctor Who fan after all, therefore we need to allow him to be pedantic. Obviously our panel had great microphone
Take it off!
He's over there.
Subject is going to pass to Jared. And there are 29 seconds left for Jared to talk about what he gets up to in My Haunted TARDIS. Starting now.
In my haunted TARDIS, there are no bunk beds because the only ghosts that appear in my haunted TARDIS are under the sheets when Amy, Roy, and
Forgot the subject!
The Ghost Hunter is on the board. And he now has 20 seconds left to talk about In My Haunted TARDIS, starting now.
In my haunted TARDIS, there are various types of ghosts, such as poltergeists, such as residual ghosts. Oh,
Terry? Two such as is.
Such as poo.
And now, Terry has 9 seconds to talk about In My Haunted TARDIS, starting now.
In my haunted TARDIS, there is screaming Lord Such and other poltergeists that throw things at the walls and make an awful, awful mess.
Given it just underneath, I think we're going to give Paul the interruption there with a repetition of awful with 1 second left. Starting now.
There are many types of ghosts.
Yes, Cian?
Just want to say hello.
I think we're going to give Paul the bonus point for finishing when the 60 seconds ended.
That's probably it for me.
And now the microphone passes to Cian to start the next subject. But before it does, we'll recap the scores. Bringing up the rear is Jared with 1. Cian now has the opportunity to pick up the pace because he's third with 2. Paul has leapt ahead with 3. And Terry is still in the lead with 4.
1, 2, 4.
So we move to the third round, and Cian is going to kick us off, and he's going to talk for 60 seconds without repetition, hesitation, or deviation on the subject of My Mate Rory, starting now.
Well, my mate Rory, well, that is quite a tale.
He said well twice.
Yes, he did.
In my defence,
Boogie, though, and you haven't boogie woogied at all yet. Boogie, you didn't boogie boogie either. Who wants to hear more about Cian's mate Rory? Yeah, I do too.
in my defence, the second time it was only at work, which strictly speaking is just deviation from language. But still, anyway.
So, we have 55 seconds for Cian to continue talking about My Mate Rory, starting now.
I have had several friends called Rory, one of which my friend Arthur and I lived with briefly. He was a terrible, terrible... He was a heinous person, that's
Yes,
terrible.
I'm not quite sure who got in there first there. Jared beat you? Okay, we haven't... Terry got there first?
You're so selfless. No, he's winning.
Jared, get there first. And you have 44 seconds now, Jared, to talk about My Mate Rory, starting now.
My mate Rory is the most awesome person on the planet because my mate Rory...
Deviation from the truth.
Yeah, he left.
Who are you pointing to?
I think we're going to have to go... Oh, okay, who thinks that Jared's mate Rory is not awesome? Who thinks he's awesome? Cian, I'm sorry. Public opinion says that was an incorrect challenge.
He did say the most awesome person on this planet.
How many people think that Rory is the most awesome person on this planet?
Bearing in mind that's our...
Oh, I think there's definitely debate here. So we're going to let the topic pass back to Cian with... You did it, mate. With 38 seconds remaining to talk about My Mate Rory, starting now.
So my mate Rory, who we used to share a flat with in London town, would sing songs that were horrifically bad. He would sing songs about his legs. Yeah.
How many times do you sing songs?
He sings so many songs. He sang songs a lot. He loves singing songs. He was a very good kid. My God, he sang so half the microphone.
Repetition of the word songs there. So we now have 23 seconds remaining for Jared to talk about his awesome friend Rory. Starting.
So did you wait? You just said my awesome friend Rory. It's my mate Rory. So
it's my mate Rory. My mate Rory is the topic. We did discover that he may not be quite the most awesomest person on the planet. You're going to start your sentences. Starting now.
The awesomity of my mate Rory cannot.
Changing my buzzer to all.
I think Paul has a challenge. What would that challenge be, Paul?
I forgot what he did.
Yes, he hesitated. So that leaves you with 18 seconds to talk about my mate Rory, starting now.
My mate Rory is actually a fictional character in my head because I actually do not know anybody by the name of Rory.
Challenge, Jared?
Is actually.
That's just a British thing. It may be a British thing, but it's actually against the rules of just a minute. Actually. I am actually sure. So the subject passes back to Jared. With 11 seconds left to talk about my mate Rory, starting from now.
My mate Rory is actually the most person on the planet who I admire the most.
I saw a challenge there from Terry. Massive hesitation. The subject passes to Terry. With 6 seconds remaining, he's getting quite good at this last minute heroics. To talk about my mate Rory, starting now.
My mate Rory Calhoun is 120 pounds of whipcord muscle and steely-eyed killer. He has been...
You have made it to the 60 seconds. And so at the end of round 3, Cian is bringing up the rear with 3. Paul and Jared are tied for second place with 4. But streaking ahead is Terry with 6. And so the subject passes to Jared to get started. And the subject that you need to talk for 60 seconds without repetition, hesitation, or deviation on is... It's bigger on the inside.
It's bigger on the inside was what the Ramada Orlando Celebration Resort and Convention Center said to me when...
So, Paul, you now have 53 seconds remaining to talk about It's Bigger on the Inside, starting now.
They'll never be the same.
That's what she said. Well, that didn't take long.
So she said.
We have 47 seconds remaining for Cian to talk about It's Bigger on the Inside, starting now.
It's bigger on the inside. As my mother's.
I don't didn't see one. Did anyone see one? As the final arbiter, I say no. So we will keep going, and Cian gets bonus point for an incorrect challenge. And there are now 43 seconds remaining for Cian to talk about It's Bigger on the Inside, starting now.
As my mother said to me when I asked her about the birds and the bees, it's big on the inside.
That was hesitation.
Yeah, that was hesitation. No, that was hesitation. No, I'm joking. It wasn't hesitation. It was hesitation.
It was comic time. It was comic hesitation.
Jesus, one little buccaneer.
Yeah. Let me breathe, man.
Yes, let it breathe.
Come on, man. Not breathe.
Yes, a man can breathe. Yes, you're allowed to breathe.
I'm getting excited. I'm sorry. I'll calm down.
Cian's going to continue,
I don't want it.
but take a deep breath first. To talk about It's Bigger on the Inside, starting now.
There are many things that are bigger on the inside. I myself have many times been told that I am bigger on the inside. There are surgeons who have been working on my lungs and lower abdomen. They have said that I don't know what I'm going to say. Kill me. That's the least repetition of
Yes, there was deviation from any form of grammar and any form of sentence structure. So the subject's going to pass the ball with 19 seconds remaining to talk about It's Bigger on the Inside, starting from now.
As many people know, I own a TARDIS, which, for some unknown reason, seems to be bigger on the inside. For example, I use 3 pots of paint to paint the outside.
The word is still paint. That was a good challenge. No. The word is still the same.
So we're just breaking up this cartel between these two. We're talking, it's like cricket teams.
Yes. Come on.
So that is a successful challenge. It is a repetition of the word paint. And we now have... You did it again, Mr. Malloy. Actors are very, very good at this. 5 seconds to talk about It's Bigger on the Inside, starting now.
It's bigger on the inside is a philosophical concept which cannot be proven within any structured situation.
Yes, Cian?
I think I've proven it before.
I concede.
We will give Cian a successful challenge because the audience seemed to enjoy his interruption. And so did the other contestants. And I believe he now has a single second to talk about It's Bigger on the Inside, starting now.
It makes you depressed when people say it's bigger on the inside.
So, at the end of round 4, Jared has been up the rear with 4. Paul is trailing in 3rd place with 6. And Cian and Terry are now tied for the lead with 7. So we have 2 rounds left. Terry is going to start round 5. And his topic is to talk about for 60 seconds without hesitation, repetition, or deviation. I'll count that to
convention, I nearly blew myself away.
Which means he now has 54 seconds to talk about last night at the convention, starting now.
Last night at the convention, Terry blew himself. You must admit it's somewhat impressive, as this is something I've never been able to do.
Which means that Jared now has 39 seconds left to talk about last night at the convention, starting now.
Last night at the convention, I prevented Arthur Darvill from being subjected to the most horrendous fate possible, because last night at the convention, in the lobby of this very hotel, there were hundreds of dancing, teenage, screaming girls. Upon his arrival...
Breathing!
What was that?
That didn't sound like the worst thing possible.
Oh, my
Was that the worst thing possible?
They were all underage. The trip to jail would have been.
We're going to give Cian a bonus point for an enjoyable interruption. We're going to let the topic stay in the story because everybody wants to hear the rest of the story. And he has 25 seconds remaining to tell us about last night at the convention, starting now.
While I was in the lobby attempting to save Rory from an undescribable fate at the hands of the cheerleading and dancing girls, it was very horrific to learn that the mothers of these also participated in the same belly dancing sport. Some of them that were standing in the queue for the lobby help desk was able to crack.
That was a challenge. What was that challenge? You had a challenge?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, it was being cracked, wasn't it?
Is that deviation, repetition, or hesitation? Okay. We will let the topic pass to Paul, who gets a point for a successful challenge, and he has 8 seconds remaining to talk about last night at the convention. Starting now.
Last night at the convention, I was fortunate to meet...
Yes, Cian?
I go for deviation from the normal speech pattern of a human.
I'm sitting next to Davros. How was that?
Yeah, sorry, Davros was a Khalid. And so Cian wins even without knowing anything about Doctor Who. So the subject passes to Cian with 4 seconds remaining to last night at the convention, starting now.
People have told me that I was here last night at the convention.
Time up. You were speaking when the subject ended. Yay! So, Cian gets a point for absolutely. Which means that Cian has actually jumped into the lead with 10. Terry and Paul are now joint second with 8. And Jared's still on 5. Despite that fascinating story.
You were there for hesitation. You were
So we're going into the last round now, and Paul is going to get us started with 60 seconds on the topic of why fezzes are cool. And your time starts now.
There seems to be a common belief that the fez is in fact cool. Whether or not this is true, I am yet to discover for myself, as I for one do not quite own a fez just yet. I am, however,
Yes, we really did.
I say that. Is it cool?
We give Terry a point for a successful challenge. We try not to strangle Paul with the microphone and the vase. And now Terry has 44 seconds to talk on the subject of why fezzes are cool. Starting now.
I think it is perfectly obvious, thanks to Paul, that fezzes are not cool.
Yes, Jared?
deviation from the truth.
I think we'll give him that one. So there's a, well, he's doing so badly, Terry, we have to give him every opportunity. So, Jared now has 34 seconds to convince us that it was really deviation from the truth, as he talks about why fezzes are cool, starting now.
The reason that fezzes are cool are actually quite numerous, but some that are quite...
I wasn't sure whether that was Terry or Paul. Was Terry?
It was Terry.
Terry interrupted quite well, because Jared obviously cannot come up with that many reasons why fezzes are cool. Already start to describe them.
Now they're cool.
Now that Davros is wearing one, there can be no argument, but we'll let him explain it to us in the next 27 seconds. Why fezzes are cool. Starting now.
I think it's perfectly obvious why fezzes are cool. Because Tommy Cooper was one, and it was the coolest thing on earth. Also,
Yes, there was an ha 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 ha. That's one single word, it's separated by hyphens because Tommy Cooper said it all the time. So,
words I've got enough points.
Terry gets a bonus point for an unsuccessful challenge, and there are 16 seconds remaining for him to continue with his Tommy Cooper impression of why fezzes are cool, starting now.
16 seconds of Tommy Cooper means I've got to tell you the joke about the fella going to the doctors. He says, Doctor,
Here.
Repetition of doctor.
Indeed.
That was an incorrect, because he went to the doctors, and the doctor singular said. Those are two separate words.
Yes, they are two separate words. It was an incorrect challenge, Cian.
I got your back, buddy.
All I wanted was a fez.
So there are 10 seconds remaining for us to continue to hear about the doctors and the doctor, starting Now.
And I said, I feel like a pair of curtains. He said, pull yourself together.
That was repetition because the ha 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 has already been used in your talk this evening.
I was challenging myself. For not being quite so cool.
Paul gets the fez and the mic with 5 seconds remaining to talk about why fezzes are cool. Starting now.
After watching the Doctor Who episode in which the Doctor actually...
Yes, Doctor?
Doctor.
Doctor, at that time it was Doctor Jared. No.
Oh, no.
So with 2 seconds remaining, Terry will go back,
Samantha.
channeling Tommy Cooper, I hope, maybe, to talk about why fezzes are cool, starting now.
I fell asleep with the fireplace. I woke up this morning feeling great.
Deviation 1.
Deviation. He got through the 2 seconds before you challenged. You didn't give him a chance to get started.
I hadn't finished the joke. Feeling great, so I was wearing a cool fez.
Despite the exuberance of our panelists. I think they played jolly well, don't you? And so that brings us to the end of our game. Did you enjoy that?
Yeah! Woo!
So, at the end, the final scores are Jared bringing up the rear with 6. His favourite place to be. In 3rd place is Paul with 9.
Paul would have it.
In 2nd place, Cian with 10. And just in the lead, Mr. Terry Malloy. So it just remains for me to thank our 4 panelists, the lovely Jenny for keeping score, and to thank you for being a fantastic audience and enjoy the rest of your time at Hurricane Who Category 2.